John Urwin finally came to meet Sean Stone, who came the whole way from the United States to see Urwin on his home turf at Newcastle Airport.
30 miles. 30 miles? Yeah.
Basis 34 Part 1 will be the only section released until further notice. In this early section, John Urwin starts discussing elements with Sean Stone, only to find that the batteries in the radio mics suddenly burned up and shut down. We've included this section. And then, secondly, during the later part of the opening stages of the discussion, we had the fire alarms go off. So certainly we had company. These two sections are the only ones to be released. The rest of the 4 days of interviews and material between Sean and John will remain embargoed until further notice. The purposes of this is to create a film, possibly a trilogy of films or movies about the 16. So here we have Sean Stone interviewing John Urwin in Newcastle, January 25th, 2014.
Do you do many films yourself?
Hmm?
Do you make many films yourself?
Films?
Yeah, do you do these?
Yeah.
Movies?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what this is going to be.
Yeah, is this yours, is it? Or,
What do you mean?
Well, is this your project?
Yeah.
In a way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, I'm producing it with Michael.
Okay.
And then ultimately, who knows? I mean, I'll develop the script with the writer. I may end up directing it. I'm not sure yet.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
All right.
Right. Is everything running? Can you switch that little
This
one?
backup audio goes
Okay.
onto this.
Switch that little one on?
I think you switched it.
No, I didn't.
This is the trouble.
Your fingers are all too thick. There's a tiny little button. When I press it, it doesn't seem to work. Is it working? Is it recording now?
Okay.
Right, you have to press the record button now.
Record. Oh, God.
Yeah, it's got to show them how to do it. Okay.
Okay, that's just 2 end shots wide. That's running. Okay, this is Urwin and Stone. Take one, take one.
All set? Recording all around?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're here with John Urwin. This is 25th? 24th? I lost track of time flying over. I'm exhausted.
Going back in time.
So we're time traveling. And yeah, I mean, you've written The 16, which is an interesting, an interesting story, but I want to get deeper into your story because you gave us a lot of the groundwork for your operations. Let's start with this question. Do you believe that there is an Illuminati, a group behind the scenes that secretly rules the world?
Well, whatever name they call themselves, there is a group of people that are running this world, or trying to, put it that way. They're not quite there yet, but I think at the rate they're moving, taking all over these countries such as Libya, Iraq, I think the intentions is obvious, and the fact that the European Union, we were forcing the European Union, they bring down the borders, they bring millions of people over here to destroy the cultures. All of that is for real. We never had a vote on it. We're not going to get a vote on it. So yeah, that's the plan. I think it's. I think they make it obvious. They like to tell you what their plan is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but people don't seem to be taking much notice for whatever reason.
Well, sure. I mean, I did my senior thesis at Princeton on the New World Order, which was a terminology used by the British, people like Cecil Rhodes and his benefactors, the Rothschilds, and then that whole round table group clique.
Right. It all started years ago with the Tavistock Institute.
Well, before Tavistock, even. That was like, it was actually...
That's right.
But Tavistock came in the 1910s,
Tavistock came
20s,
in, as you say...
World War I era.
That's right. And they moved into they took over the Oxford and Cambridge, where politicians are trained.
Right.
And like I said, that's where it all started. It started off with Burgess McLean, Kim Philby, all the spies, the traitors.
Right.
Once they took over Oxford and Cambridge, you can trust me, by the way, because I never went to Oxford.
Yeah.
When they're doing that, then they start infiltrating the governments. You see, and the intelligence services. Once they've got themselves into that position, got rid of the people, the good people, if you like, and then replaced them with their people. I believe now that the Western world is run by whatever name you want, the Illuminati, the elite, whatever name you want to call them. They are definitely, there's no doubt about it, they're in charge of the governments, all Western governments, in every level of government now.
And these people have no allegiance to any country either. They're not British, they're not American. I mean, they might be by nationality, but fundamentally what are they?
Fundamentally, the object they exercise is to destroy the nations, to destroy the cultures. That's what they've set out to do. It's a one world government and a one world religion. That's what they're after. But to enable them to control that, as they say, their words, not mine, they've got to get rid of a huge amount of the population of the world.
For control purposes.
For control, yeah, but for other purposes as well,
right.
Which we'll get into, because what you've got to realise is that these people have got all the money that's possible to have. They've got everything. Why? And these people are, let's say they're in the 70s and 80s. They're about my age. Why would they want to do that? Why would they want to have a new world order that they're not going to see? I think that's rather strange. They're not going to benefit by it, or are they?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think I can prove what they're really up to.
Yeah. Well, that was my conclusion at a certain point when you see how these empires continue from Babylon to Rome, or Babylon to Persia, let's say.
That's right.
Persia to Alexander.
People at the top. Oh, sorry, them at the top are not people.
Is that an expression?
That's what I was told.
That's what you were told?
Every time I asked for some kind of explanation, they shied away from it. And they used to say, you don't really want to know. Like what I said to you.
So what I was saying was that I came to that conclusion at that point of looking back at this imperial strategy, going back to, let's say, Babylon, to the present day, to the British Empire, to the New World Order, the Anglo-American Empire as it is now, turning into a kind of United Nations controlled consensus of how people should proceed with their lives.
Well, they've tried it quite a number of times. Even the Romans tried it.
Right.
Right.
But the point is that, as you say, if this is a conspiracy that outlives one generation, this is the kind of thing that takes generations to plan. You have to be able to see into the future, to be able to not just see into it, but literally to envision your plans for hundreds of years down the road. It can't just be one generation to the next. It wasn't this generation 100 years ago that came up with this idea. So obviously either these people are practicing it in their bloodlines, in their families, or there is an alien, extra-dimensional, extra-spiritual, or something, almost transmigratory concept to this, that they are not dying, that there's a reason that they need to intend for this to happen over longer terms of time.
That's right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Where do we go from here?
I would ask, in terms of your concept of the elite, though, that the elite running things, is this something that you took away from your experience with the 16, or is this something that you came to a conclusion after you left?
Well, the words that you're using now, like the Illuminati, the elite, weren't actually used with the 16. They were telling me that there is a group of people, that's the way they used to talk, there's a group of people, and used to tell me what their plans were. And the plans are exactly what's taking place now. you see. And they said the object, the exercise, our exercise, when we went on these various different operations, was to try and prevent them from getting their hands on advanced technology, to try and prevent them from doing what they're doing now. That was the whole object of the exercise.
Mm-hmm. But what do you mean, what they're trying to do now? In what sense?
Well, it was talking about those tablets that we picked up, the emerald tablets, which most people know them as. The information on there is so far advanced in here after that technology. They needed the power. They needed that advanced technology to be able to do what they're doing now. Do you understand? I mean, you saw how, even looking at these cameras and TV, and suddenly we're advanced from virtually nothing, 50 years ago or less than that, and suddenly we've got everything. How? And it just doesn't seem possible. And I think this is where they've got some of this technology from. I know that I'm aware of what the 16 was telling me, that without the 6 they couldn't put it all together. Do you understand?
The six tablets.
No, I was always led to believe there was only 6. Some people were talking about 12. I don't know. I only know that they said there was 6, and they believed that we were searching for them. We didn't know where they were. So 8 of the 16 were intelligence groups in different countries trying to find out who had these things. You see?
So you really think the 16 were only 16 people? Or that was a number, it was
Well,
almost like a metaphor?
There were 16 that I was aware of, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
You were aware of them because of the last operation?
Yeah.
Was it Jaraba?
Jaraba.
So you saw
it's
all
on the
16?
sort of Syrian, Israeli, Lebanon border.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I think it was approximately 20 miles from the east coast. Approximately.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget, it's over 55 years ago now.
Well, Jaraba, I think it's on a map still, no?
Well, on most maps, it's not there anymore.
Really?
Yeah, that's why the Egyptians wanted to know how I knew all about it, because it's been taken off the Israelis took it off the map.
Oh.
Okay? This is why they were very excited, and they wanted to know more about what we did, especially when I was in their country, in Cairo, killing that Russian guy.
Yeah, and okay, so
assassinating him.
In terms of the tablet,
yeah,
explain to me that operation, because it's strange that a tablet that's this powerful, this important to the
Illuminati. The tablets just held information.
Mm-hmm. But why would they let it be so loosely guarded, in a sense?
Well, loosely guarded. Well, the more I believe that they did that in such a way where if that had been more guarded, people would know there was something there. They were hiding something. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Don't forget, in those days we didn't have the technology we've got now. We didn't have the satellites, we didn't have GPSs.
Yeah.
You see, so, to get that type of information, nobody really knew it was there unless you had an inside man.
Which you guys had.
Which we had.
Right.
That's the only reason why we knew it was there. So they didn't have to guard it that well, because they thought no one knew about it. You see? So, things were quite different then. In regards to the technology, we didn't really have any. All we had was a compass, literally. And the maps we usually took were tourist maps. Did you know that? Just in case we were picked up. We just have tourist maps on us.
Right.
But that's all we had.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So describe to me that operation, because it's difficult from the book to understand who was meeting, were they nationals from which countries, what was transpiring in terms of that operation at Jaraba.
Okay. We landed on the beach just north of Tel Aviv. Yeah. We landed on the beach there. How we got there is there was 4 of us, went by helicopter, got dropped into a fishing boat, This was through the night. We went back in. There was lots of fishing boats, and we went back in with them into cover. You understand? Because the Israelis they had patrol boats, so did the Syrians. So there was a lot going on then. But you got to remember, there was thousands of Americans there, all covering the whole coast area. So we had to make sure we weren't even picked up by them. You understand? So it wasn't far from this little fishing village. I've forgotten the name of the village now. I think it's in the book. Anyway, when we landed off the fishing boat, we met up with the rest of the 16 there. And when I say the rest of them, there was actually 2 who was driving wagons. The guys we met in this looked like a huge drain pipe. Is that the word? Drain pipe?
Yeah,
a sewer pipe.
Like a sewer pipe, yeah.
Yeah, well, we actually met them there. There was a railway. I don't know if it was being used or not, but it looked as though it was, because when we had a look at the lines, you could see they were worn. There wasn't any real rust there or anything. So from there, from that sewage pipe, is where we met up, and we were given our orders then. We were taken by truck up to the mountains, dropped off there, and the rest was on foot. We had to make our way towards the River Jordan, and it was specially picked out for us, part of the river. The snows were melting in Syria, so the river was, flooding to its banks. It was very powerful. You couldn't have got across it, but we had the technology to be able to do that.
With the wires?
Yeah, well, it's not wires exactly. We had ropes with us. We had crossbows, which had an arrow that had what you call pickups. They're called pickups. What we did, how it's worked is, we'll just say, for instance, on this particular operation, there was a bit of an old bridge on the other side. You understand, like a steel post sticking out of the ground. But even so, next door to that was a tree which we could have used. But obviously the steel girder that was stuck in the ground would have been stronger. So how it works is, one guy stands here, he fires the crossbow across past the post like this. The other arrow's fired over, picks it up, takes it back, and then we put a heavy line on it. Do you understand? The heavy line goes up, around, comes back. We put what we call dog clips. You could call them carabiners if you like, but it was a dog clip, especially designed. And we used to tie it on the end of the rope, hook it on, and pull it over till it grabbed the other side. Do you understand how it works? So you got the light line would pull the heavy line around the steel girders and back. They would put a carabiner on it, lock it back onto the rope again, and then just pull it through the water until it gripped on the other side. You understand? And the more we pulled, the more it went up the girder. You see? So then the lightest guy would go across, put it in a position where it was high off the ground for it.
Yeah.
Right? And on this side there was 2 trees, and we would we had little pulley wheels with it, 2-inch, what we call 2-inch pulley wheels. In fact, I've got them in the same type in the club, in my club where I train people. And they're done in such a way where it's like a pulley system. So we'll use the tree, and then when we pull, it tightens the rope up. We'll put what you call, we used to call them easy knots, onto the base of the tree. So when we go across to the side, we used to pull a light line. It used to pull a pin out of the rope that's wrapped around the tree, and it used to release it if we needed to, okay? But when we got across to the side, we swapped everything around. The last guy would uncouple it, tie it to the tree with with what you call a carabiner now.
Yeah.
Right? And put the same system on the other side. Then we drop the line in the water after we crossed. Do you understand? So when we came back, we could tighten the line back up. We couldn't, do you understand? We used the pulley wheels on that side. We tighten the line back up. And then when we got across the other side, all we had to do was pull a light line, and it would release the whole lot, including carabiners, and we'll pull the whole lot across the river. Right. When the enemy came, they couldn't get across, and they didn't know how we did it. You see, because they couldn't get across even on a boat.
Yeah.
It was so powerful.
Yeah.
And that's why we chose that particular part of the river, because we could achieve that. Do you
Right,
understand?
exactly. That's the best way to
Yeah.
make
So
yourself
anyway,
scarce.
from then on, if you want to know what happened after that, on the way to Jarraba, I think we travelled about a couple of miles. And we're starting to come across sort of, it was hilly country. When we got to the top of this hill, I was looking across, and I definitely saw 2 huge circular aircraft taken off.
Disc shape.
Disc shape. And I can tell you what they looked like. They had a ridge around like this. They were flat on the top and on the bottom, but there was lights on one side and then in the front. And these 2 things took off. They were enormous. You couldn't hear anything, and it looked as though they were taken off from the ground. But don't forget, they were in the air when I saw them travelling up into the atmosphere, up, taken off. I pointed out, I was just shocked. I was pointing. No one, not one of them looked. No one looked at these.
You think it's because they'd already seen it before?
I don't know. They just didn't look. Chalky came dashing over to me, and you didn't say anything.
That's interesting.
He didn't say anything. So we went from there. We went to this compound, right? I still didn't know at that time what we were after. I had no idea. We were waiting for a convoy coming.
You were told you had to break up a meeting, right? Wasn't that was the assignment?
Yeah, they told me it was just to break up a meeting and get rid of or assassinate certain people which was at that meeting. That's what I was told. But they will keep on saying, when we got one guy ready to go to get into the camp, after this convoy came, I went down to the side of the road using that sticky coat as a means of camouflage, which I explained how that's done. They couldn't see me. I was right next to them. Apparently they were nearly wetting on us. That stopped to get out to reveal us. Anyway, what happened there was I had to look up into this car, and I saw the people that they said was coming. After they left, I dashed back up.
These people look like what? Where were they from?
There was 2 military and 1 civilian.
But they were both from the Middle East? Or, I mean, they were all from the Middle East, or were they Caucasian, or?
There was one guy which was coloured, and the other 2 were white.
So could they have been like U.S. military, or?
There could have been anything. I have no idea. I couldn't see them properly. It was dark, very dark. I mean, don't forget, there's no street lights out there.
Yeah.
It was pitch dark. It wasn't for the wagon. There was a truck behind them, and the headlights is why I could see them. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to see them. I spotted them. I recognised the description. The trucks moved on and stopped again for whatever reason. I don't know why they stopped. I got up and went to the top of the hill, and I said, yeah, that's them, for definite. So they went to the camp. First, the motorcycle went off to the camp, came back, then they all went into the camp. I don't know whether that was to make sure that, that the camp was okay, that everything was set up. I don't know. But anyway, when they got in the camp, we waited till it got dark. And one of the other chaps from the 16, another 4, a group of 4, it was their job to get into this compound. One of them had been watching the area for quite some time. There were some toilets near the fence, about 60 yards from the main building. I think because of the smell and all that sort of thing.
Right.
Okay. And people would come to the toilet, and come out fastening their pants and things like that. And one guy was dragging his rifle, heading towards the building. There was 2-3 guards standing at the main entrance. So one of the 16 got underneath the fence near the toilets. They had been discussing what they were going to do. I don't know what they were discussing. I could just see them from where I was. I knew he got into the toilets, and as he done that, somebody came to the toilets, went in the toilets, and he had taken their clothes. You know, I don't know what he did to the guy, obviously, but he didn't come out.
He put the guy in the latrine.
He grabbed his rifle,
yeah.
and started doing this with his coat and heading towards these guards. And we were told to open fire the second he got close enough.
Because in the confusion, he would then run inside. No one would suspect otherwise.
That's exactly what happened.
They're not paying attention to him. They're paying attention outside.
We were told everything was a joke to these people.
Who?
The 16. Well, all of it. Nothing frightening about it. Like I said, I went through what you call a fear control program.
Yeah, which we'll get into.
They looked on the whole thing as fun. It was really, it was laughable. They often laughed about it, when we were sitting there, laughing at these guys coming out in this toilet. But anyway, what they did was they waited till this chap got right up to the guards, really right up, and then we opened fire. We could have opened fired, a few yards away so they wouldn't really recognise him. No, they had to wait till he got really close, and then we opened fired. As soon as we did that, the guards switched the lights off, dashed in, he dashed in with them, and we could see the building from where we were using my binoculars. We could see the setup inside, because I had, there wasn't, you could see inside the corridor, you could see inside the rooms. It was the last room on the second floor, which had a large table in, and there was flags in there. Do you want to mention the flags?
The particular country flags? Like which ones?
Well, the Israeli flag was one of them, the American flag and the British flag, but there was another flag which I couldn't see. I know it was red in it, but that's all I could see. All I knew that what happened after that, we just heard this huge bang at the end of the building. The windows blew out, and then after that there was explosions taking place in these rooms, and then he came out the main gate because he had a torch with a red light on it, rushing towards the gate, shouting in Arabic, "Open the gates." He had got inside. When he threw the grenade inside, he said afterwards he thought we had to finish them all off, so he put a bullet in their heads.
Who?
When he was in the room.
He put a bullet in the heads of the targets
to make sure that
but again, you don't know who the targets were, where they were from.
I've no idea.
American, Israeli.
Yeah, I'm not going to make words up. I'll tell you exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. As our chap ran towards the gate, he was shouting in Arabic to tell them to open the gates to get at us. They opened the gates. When he got through the gates, two of our chaps just seemed to come out of the ground. They had these cut, and they slaughtered everybody behind him. From then on, we hit the place. We stopped for a while. Still bombarded the place. Made sure all our vehicles were out of commission, and then we headed towards the River Jordan again.
Yeah.
When we got across the other side of the River Jordan, prior to that, they would keep on saying, "Don't forget them, don't forget it, don't forget them."
Who said that?
Well, the 16.
Okay.
They were talking, and I said, "What's it?
What's it?
What's them?" And they still wouldn't tell us. You see, they wouldn't tell me. So anyway, when we got across the other side of the River Jordan, I'm not quite sure. I can't remember exactly. I think it was Dynamo said, "Did you get them?" She said, "Of course we did. It's in my bag." And I kept nudging the others and said, "What's them? What's it? You keep on talking about it, them. What is it?" And they brought out a box about so big, about 4 inches wide. They had trouble to open it. One of my team said, "Give us it here," and he knew how to open it. Apparently it was pressurized, certain pressure points on it, and it opened as though it had a spring on it. It was black in colour. I don't know what it was made of.
The box.
The box was, I have no idea what it was made of. It looked very strong, but it was jet black in colour. When it opened, inside was velvet, red velvet cloth inside. He took them out, put them on the ground, And we put our coats around like this in the dark, and we shone our torches or flashlights on them, and they started to sort of charge up, just like, as I said before, my watch. That does that when I shine my torch and it's got some luminous paint on it. Well, that's the sort of thing that happened. But then we've got these little coloured beams coming off it, like you would have off one of those balls you have in a dance hall.
Right.
It was acting like
Shiny,
that.
yeah,
right?
shiny ball like that.
Yeah. Now they said, that's when they said, that's got to be them. This is when another one of the 16 brought out what looked like a piece of aluminum, as you call it. He's put it over his hand. It was sort of like that with a square gadget on the top, and he puts his hand in, and had two bits of metal sticking down on either side. He gets the tablet, and these two grooves run down each side of the tablet. These two little bits of metal had a groove, and it fitted perfectly. And when he run his hand up like that, the top had pictures inside of it. You could see like film passing in numbers. So that's definitely them. He took that, put it in his pocket, wrapped it up, and one of our runners ran off with him.
So did you see any images coming off the?
Yeah, I saw images, but I couldn't make out what they were. I was about from here to that light off them, and I was just shocked. I never saw anything like that before, but there was definitely, I definitely saw images of. It's hard to describe. They look like objects of some sort, but I also saw writing as well, and numbers came up.
What kind of writing?
It was. I couldn't really say because he ran his hand up so quickly. It just. Do you understand? It was passing through very, very quickly. But I noticed there was some solid objects, and I could see numbers and things like that. And when I made inquiries about it, they just wouldn't talk about it. They just wouldn't talk about it. It was later on I said, that thing you had in your hand, how did that work? He says, you got 250 volts in your body. That's all he said.
Oh, you're the energy that.
You're the energy.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to know how the hell it worked. Okay? So after that, like I said, we got up in the mountains again. We went for a trek. And that's when I went, I wanted to go to the toilet.
That's when you had to run in with the...
That's when I had to run in with this guy who had what they call a Chris. It's a name. I got it stuck on the top of my leg.
Was this were you guys in Syria or Israel at this point?
No, we're in Lebanon, near Lebanon, not far from, in Beirut, Lebanon, that area. I was feeling very weak. I lost a bit of blood, but I had the strangest kit I've ever seen. I never had seen that before. What they did was they put my leg down, and if you have a look, you'll find I've still got the scar. If that had been done in the armed forces, they would have used stitches, right? I have no stitches.
No.
Okay, so there's no stitches there. That knife touched my bone inside my leg. They put a chemical on my leg which took most of the pain away, but then they put two straps on each side of the cut, which looked like lace, like lace string coming off it, right? Put another piece in the middle, and then tightened the laces up, and they pulled the stitch, the cut, the wound together, right? When they did that, they put another.
Is that for us?
Sticky tape over the top. Are you still recording?
What is that? An alarm.
That's outside, isn't it?